my people? My name is Marcus Thomas. Thank you for tapping in. This is the Vulnerable Masculinity Podcast. And let me say, today we have a good one for you. I have a very special guest. She is a Pilates instructor. She is an integrative health practitioner. She is an overall superwoman. I am so happy that I get to call her wife, my partner in crime, Natalie Noah Thomas. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. I have a few questions for you. As you know, this is the Vulnerable Masculinity Podcast. So I talk about a wide array of different things. A couple topics that I want to touch with you is step parenting, how that's a new role for you. I have 3 kids. You've come into this relationship, into this marriage with no kids. I want to know about any initial fears you had or expectations. I want to know how you built those bonds with them. There's going to be some other questions there as it pertains to step parenting, but then I also want to tap into the nutritional portion and what your health and holistic wellness journey has been and what you would like it to be in the future. So how does that sound with you?
Sounds good. Sounds
Awesome.
like my everyday life.
Everyday life.
Happy to
Okay.
talk about it.
All right, so let's talk about it. Let's dive in. So step parenting experience. I really want to know what has been the most challenging yet rewarding part of stepping into a household with 3 boys.
I guess I never really understood how much love I could have in life. Honestly, as a person without kids in my day-to-day, I thought that I had all the love I could take in my life, whether I was married before or I had 2 parents who loved me. I didn't know that children could almost, they take over the love.
They consume everything.
It's all consuming. It is innocent and it's fun and it's beautiful and it's natural. Everything about my body and the way that I think is all about the natural form of things and the way that we are designed. And maybe it's just perfect timing that they came into my life and just naturally love me and allowing that space to be natural, not forcing a thing. There very much is a statement in our lives, and we did it this weekend with the puzzles, is don't force it. Just go with the flow. And that's how I've had to be with them. Every time I overthink it, every time I want to overplan it, I just have to go with the flow and not force it. And eventually it surprises me and all fits into place.
Yeah. I can, just listening to that and hearing about going with the flow and not overthinking, I'm pretty sure just tying things together, that overthinking is because you're fearful of a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
You're fearful of misstepping. You're fearful of doing something that they don't like, right? They turn against you, or that love is taking away, that they give to you, right? That love is something that they withhold from you. So I can see fear being something that is just major, stepping into a relationship with 3 kids involved. So talk to me a little bit about that. Were there any big fears or initial fears that you had stepping into the step parent role? And then if you could elaborate, how did they compare to like reality, what it really is?
It is absolutely nothing I could have created in my mind. Honestly, the only things I have are stories and movies and things that gave me the interpretation that step parents are either loved or hated, and I can't think of one that was loved. All of them were just mean. It was always about getting against the step parent. I was even against being called step parent in the beginning because I didn't want that to be a preconceived idea in anyone's head, including mine, where I had to fit into a specific mold. So I just wanted everyone to call me Natalie. And it came naturally because it needed a title when the boys explained who I was in the family unit. So again, we just went with the flow. It just became love. I supported as they needed, and eventually it became a place of natural acceptance. But the fear of not being liked is real. I don't know if it was the fear of not being liked by them or because they mean so much to you, but it's not something that I thought that I would ever have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because they're children, and we think that we can manipulate children. But people would always tell me, kids can see through everything. And it's not that. It's that when you fake it with kids, you're faking care, you're faking love. And that's not something that was easy to do with 3 boys who they weren't trying to be anything. So it wasn't something that I was addressed with. I just kind of fell into it. I fell into the love versus the pretense for you. It was a continuation of our love. And I always said that that's the type of kids that I've ever wanted. They need to be fruit of love. Just because I didn't physically want to have kids of my own didn't mean that we couldn't have fruit of love. And it's very much an idea that comes in hindsight. At the time, we were just doing whatever was best for all these people who needed love, including you. So the fears came naturally, but just as fast as they rushed into me, the love rushed too. And I know it sounds so woo that it's all about love, but that's all that they've ever wanted. They just want love and fun.
Kids are like, you want to talk about understanding instincts. They're a good judge of character. They know when somebody is, if you think about when you were a kid, when somebody creepy was around, you just knew that this person was up to no good. You had no reason. You weren't gullible. They just know good. They know love. They know bad. They know kids are really good at understanding those emotions. What I love is that when you came in, you've always been this, just a symbol of love. You exude joy. You exude just this warm energy. And kids are magnetized to energy. They gravitated to you from the moment you guys met, which was just this beautiful culmination of things.
I wasn't always like that with kids. You've always been great with kids. I've always been wary of my role around kids.
Elaborate on that. Why?
I guess I've always been an aunt. I was an aunt. My eldest niece is going to be 25. So I've seen children around me and been part of their upbringing, but was never allowed to be too involved. And always had to keep my distance. I had to be there, support. So I've always been that supportive role, but within constraints. And because of that, I've also watched parents who might have wanted the children, but weren't within their own journey at a place where they could separate their own journey versus being a parent. And that was always hard for me to watch. But for me personally, this parenting part couldn't have come at a better time for me. I feel like I was running away from a lot of stuff of my own for such a long time. Not that I'm not on a journey as I'm living this life with him now, but before, I just don't think that I would have been able to give as much. I was scared for myself.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And if you don't mind, I want to stay right there with that, just because for those of you that don't know, aren't familiar with us and who we are, my wife, as you can tell, has an accent from South Africa. I'm from a small town in Ohio, and I want to talk about that just a little bit because there's major cultural differences between the two of us. And I just want to tap on that and how it pertains to parenting, how it pertains to your upbringing. We have experienced similarities in our upbringing and living on 2 totally different sides of the world, but they couldn't have been more different, just how we actually lived growing up. I want you to just talk about that a little bit and about cultural differences in parenting now.
Man, you sure? Okay.
Shoo.
You you are an only child from the middle of Ohio, and I am the youngest. I grew up with my brother and sister, but my eldest brother was around a lot as well. My mom was married before. She had Razi and Zayn. My dad was married before, and he had Lancelin. They got divorced, met each other, had me. So I come from a blended family, and that comes with a lot of moving parts. And we were very close to our family when we lived in Johannesburg. And then in Cape Town, my dad and I still remained really close. So the relationship between father and daughter was super strong, but also my relationship with my father versus you and your father. Your father was very much comes from a military background, very disciplined, and you also went to the Navy, a lot of discipline. There's always a structure.
Yeah, I see that.
It's a good thing and it has its drawbacks.
Oh, yeah.
In South Africa, it's very much a community effort. I remember being brought up by my aunts as well. All of them were just really impactful, and my relationship with them today, sadly a couple of them have passed, but the impact is so deep. Besides that, there's a culture of togetherness, not because of anything that's manufactured like Christmas, Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Labor Day.
That's for another podcast.
All of our public holidays or bank holidays were an excuse for all family to come together, not just to barbecue or braai. It's to
It
come.
meant something.
Yeah.
It's not fabricated. It's not fake energy. It's not, oh, I have to be here to show face. It's actually, you guys care about each other. That's the one thing, and not to step on you, that's the one thing I will say I admire about South Africans is the sense of community. It's like no other. And the only other thing that I can kind of equate that to is living here in Southern California, and you see the Mexicans,
Yeah.
the way that they come together. And it's just, you sit there and you look and you're just like, man, that's awesome. I wish I had community or family like that.
So. But I also think that you did, and the church was a big part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like your family was absent, but I think because mine's so distant, I do think about it a lot more fondly. And a lot of the communities that we build are very expat, and it's all the different South Africans coming together, and it's so purposeful, and you would see it and experience it and feel it like that. But I think traveling, most expat communities are like that. People with like-mindedness come together when they're traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and then we think about our countries very fondly. But we do have spirit as South Africans. It is what brings us together. It is why we call the Rainbow Nation, because we are so diverse. It's called Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Ubuntu. That's spirit. With that, our household is a little different, but I want to know what your experience has been and what your experience is now, or what you believe it to be, just about gender roles as it pertains to parenting. You weren't expecting this.
No, I think it's tough for me because I came into a unit that you'd already established your role, not only as a father, but how far your father roles reach, where they end and where your partner's starts. And it's been really hard for me to figure that out, actually, only to find my own place in it, not to diminish yours. That's been tough, because that means that I have to be clear about what it is that I want, and saying what I want is really difficult for me. I'm really good at taking care of other people's needs and trying to forecast what they need, but being able to feel supported by you, by expressing myself, and you not being a mind reader, has been difficult, because I've had to build that muscle in order to not feel overwhelmed. But you do cook and clean and help and do all the things that I require, but at the same time, so do I. Every other country I've lived in the world, be it Singapore or South Africa, there's always been help. So having to come to a new country with 3 kids and have to look after a home, and our home might not be that big, but we are many people in any space we can take over.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of socks to clean.
It's a
So
lot.
I think it's the biggest, I know it's so cliched, but it is communication. It's that talking about the things that make us uncomfortable. If I need to go out and have a bit of a space, I need to be able to express that better I'm still working on that. But it's a journey. Every day comes with new things. Every hormonal swing, depending on which part of the month I'm in. Also, understanding and loving that part about who I am, that I am fully female and I do have all these hormones that make me different and strong. I'm not a man. I'm not a small man.
You're
Leaning
as
into
strong as a
those.
small man.
I mean, thank you.
You
And
are
you're a
strong.
strong female.
That's the duality of it.
Yeah, you really are.
It's the
That wasn't.
duality of it. And I love what you said there, because it is a journey. It is a process every single day. It is communication. But what I believe is, if you love the person that you're with, you're going to make the effort. Whenever you give up on a relationship, whenever you tap out, is when you start to not care about the relationship. You don't invest in it anymore. You're not putting stock in it anymore. When a relationship is at its tail end, like, you just don't care what that person's going through. We've all been there. And you're like, I wish I felt better about this. I wish I cared for them right now, but I'm caring about me. You have to understand a relationship isn't 50-50. Some days it is 70-30. Some days it is 90-10. So understanding what you're going through personally, professionally, hormonally, I want to know what's going on with you, so that way when you have a mood swing, I can connect the dots and say, she's not really pissed off at me. Yeah, I triggered it, but man, she got so much shit on her plate. That makes me not react. Like, I love you, I care for you. And that's the communication part of it. Because if we just suppress all of that and we don't talk about what we got going on, then those suppressed emotions then start to come out in different ways.
And vice versa.
Vice versa.
I had to realize that sometimes you're not fighting me. You're in dad mode now. And you need answers from me for you and the kids.
Yeah.
Not because you want to know when I'm coming home, because we had that whole fight. One day you were like, so I need the date when you're coming back. And I was like, I'll come back when I want to. I'm a grown ass woman.
When you leave the house, leave a note.
So
No,
it was really eye-opening when I understood that the children needed to know when I'm going to be there. And it wasn't that you were trying to clip my wings. That swing, one of many that I didn't expect, really is a big part of step parenting.
Yeah.
Is understanding that your partner is multifaceted, just as I am, being able to love you through it.
Yeah. Just staying right there in that space. Not only am I multifaceted, but these boys are multifaceted. They are individuals, they are unique, but they're emotions. Braylon, he's emotional, but they all are in their own ways. And understanding those emotions. How do you support vulnerability? How do you encourage the boys to embrace vulnerability while still understanding their masculinity?
The three of them are so different. I never understood that when you said it before, that they all need different things from you, different ways to support them in the same thing. It's being a place of trust. I require them to know that I'm a safe place, which means that I have to be consistent in order for them to be okay to be vulnerable. If I'm inconsistent, and a big thing in our relationship is that I don't lie to them. It caught me out in the beginning. You caught me out in the beginning, actually. And when I realized how I was lying, just to you, just in passing, just because it made me feel safe, changed the game when I realized that I can't. And it was really like the first month of us knowing each other. It made me realize that I can't do that to you or them, because if I'm willing to, and it was something so simple, just to save face for myself. Like, why did I decide to do that? And I threw someone under the bus instead of taking ownership of it. It made me realize that I don't have the time anymore to keep backpedaling on what I had said and why I said it and get upset with you over saving my face, instead of telling the truth and saying, it's really embarrassing, but this is something that I did, and us moving forward. That was a critical turning point where I no longer consciously try not to lie. I'm not sure whether it has happened because no one's brought it up. But on my side, since I'm trying not to lie to them, I mean, the tooth fairy is hard, man.
Man,
The
they called me
tooth
out on
fairy.
that, bro. Bro.
That is,
And
and they call me out on it too because now they come to me and they're like, so tell us the truth.
oh,
Is the tooth fairy real? You told us you're not going to lie to us.
man, because I've conditioned them. Our last name is Thomas. We don't break a promise. Since they were babies. So my fear is lying to them. The moment that they feel that they can't trust their parent, who do they believe in then?
Yep. That is exactly where my parenting style comes from. Because my dad, I never lied to my dad for the same reason. Because if I lied to him, then who was I telling the truth to? Who knew exactly where I was if I was unsafe?
In that moment.
Someone, like whether I was going out with my friends, somebody needed to know where I was in order to come and find me and save me.
And then anytime I did lie, especially to my parents, my mental was so messed up. So I'm going to tell you the truth. I can tell you my side. You may not trust it, you may not believe in it, but I'm going to sleep good at night because I told you my truth. With the kids, I want them to always trust me. Know that I'm always looking out for them no matter what, even if it may upset them in the moment. I know I've broken their heart by telling them no, and it hurt me. I've had to play this role for the past 4 years by myself, be the emotional one, be the vulnerable one, but also be the disciplinarian. And with 3 boys, it's hard. But I thank God, I'm grateful because they are really good kids.
They are.
They're really great kids. There are a lot of things that I know we've touched on with step parenting, but one thing I really want to delve into. You said we both cook. I cook what I'm used to, these American diets. I want to touch on a little bit of the cultural nutrition differences. What are the biggest differences you've noticed between our habits in America versus yours in South Africa?
What is on a typical barbecue? Tell me what's on the table. The typical barbecue.
You got your hamburgers, your hot dogs, you got some type of beef. So either steak or you got carne asada or something of that sort. You might have some pork chops. You might have some bacon around. So you got some pork in there. And then you want sides too?
Yep.
All right, you got mac and cheese. You got potato salad. You got, is this just barbecue or is this a cookout?
Barbecue.
Okay. Barbecue.
I don't know what the difference is actually.
See, we gotta really get her into the culture. So
I need a book. I need a manual.
She needs.
I need all the black sayings.
She needs
all
an
the
African American
thesaurus.
introductory kit.
Yes, I really do.
So if anybody out there can chime in and tell her exactly what it is.
I just want to understand the jokes that I'm laughing at. But a braai, which is a barbecue in South Africa, BRAAI. So we have boerewors, which is usually a homemade type of sausage. Then you'll have steak, you'll have chops, you'll have chicken, then you'll have your own type of vegetables. So yes, there'll be potato salad, but there'll also be 3-bean salad, there'll be some sort of tossed salad, there'll be garlic bread. But most of these things is not too far away from the farmer. It's like 2-3 steps away from the farmer. It feels like in America, everything is so highly processed that it's so far away from the origin. That, and then when it gets to you, you also need to add all of the sugar to everything. And I think that's what's difficult. It's that culturally there is a lot of additives in order to make things culturally appropriate. In South Africa, we use a lot of the products themselves to be the hero. Very few times there would be a hot dog or a hamburger. Very few times on a braai. It's just not part of our culture. Although I do love the farmers market stuff here, it's just not regular. It's not the norm.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is accessibility to fast food. In South Africa, it's not our culture to have a burger more than once a week. And it's only because it is a lot of home cooking. And even the fast food, instead of it being a hamburger or hot dog place, Wiener Schnitzel, is
Bane of my
it would be
existence.
Nando's,
Nando's is fire.
which is just Portuguese flavored chicken.
Chicken, yes.
And all the sides.
If you guys haven't had Nando's, you haven't lived, please go to Nando's.
Plug for sure.
Highly suggest.
And I think that's it. It shows, because we're a lot stockier, be it the bigger Dutchman or the
Duplessis.
Any of us, exactly.
Duplessis.
Yeah, be it
Duplessis.
black, white, brown, all of us we get a lot of protein.
Yes.
And
yes.
not as much sugar and refined carbs.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We're going to wrap up here in a second. But because you are my first guest, and I appreciate you so much for hopping on and being a part of this, I want to ask you a few questions about you and about what you do. So I want to know, how do you integrate your health practitioner background into your Pilates instruction, what you're doing now?
I don't use them together. The one led into the other. Pilates led into integrative health. I went from building houses to building bodies in Pilates, and then to understanding, or the need to understand why the body works the way that it does, and finding the root cause of what was wrong. And I guess it comes from my dad and watching him die slowly. He was fit and healthy in his 30s, and then life happened, and stress happened, and divorce happened, and rearing kids happened, and again, the norms of alcohol consumption, about masculinity and having to show that he's such a man. He didn't have ways to deal with his words outside of me. So my relationship with my dad was completely different to anyone else's relationship with my dad. And those are things that he needed to deal with, but I could actually physically see how it broke him down and broke down his body, to lack of movement, to bad nutritional choices, to stress management, to mindfulness, to community. So finding out that all of those things make you a healthy individual is really important for me to bring across in what I do for a living and how I spend my day. So I don't like having to sell someone something. It's why I didn't go into full herbal or herbalism, because having to force someone to drink tea that I know that will help them, just the concept in our natural body is foreign in our modern culture. It might be something that is good for us, but we want a quick fix. It's why the Western medical part works so well, is why we spend 10 minutes in a doctor's office and say, tell me what I must take for the rest of my life in 10 minutes. And I just said, I'm getting some vasomotor symptoms. I'm just getting hot flashes, and here, have this for the rest of your life. Or my blood pressure goes up, and I need to take another pill for the rest of my life. And no one says where it comes from. What is it in your life that has caused your blood pressure to go up and stay up? And is there a way to get it down? And saying that you need to just eat more vegetables doesn't give people the tools. So instead, what I find works is to bring in functional lab tests and give people the actual data on their body for them to see that something is out of balance. And then those things, and explain to them how all of those building blocks make up human function, but also if any of those things are depleted, for instance. If your copper is depleted, then it might be that you need zinc, but then you can't not take any copper. You need to take copper and zinc at the same time in order to handle stress management, which comes out in different ways, like sinuses and anxiety, sleep deprivation. And to explain that to someone who doesn't know what's happening in their own body is difficult to explain as a concept until you have the actual data in front of you. And that is all about finding the root cause. And it's a journey. Once you get to that place where you realize that your body is going to be with you for the rest of your life, you don't want to necessarily just take in any old thing into your body, because it might change the happiness that you have in the future. And being happy in this vessel is I've seen what happens if you don't take care of it. You literally lose limbs. And I don't want that for anyone else I come into contact with for the rest of my life.
That was a beautiful explanation. So thank you. Thank you for that. And you speak about being mindful. The next question I actually had was about mind body connection. Can you explain the importance of mind body connection, not only in like health and fitness, but just in personal life as well?
Sure. So with youth, you see, we do stupid things, and
Yes,
we
we do.
think that we are invincible. But that is also by design. That is when we are the most procreative focused. We are designed to be that way. But when you get to a place where you are conscious, whether it is putting your one foot in front of the other and how you walk, being mindful of how you walk is just thinking about why you walk the way that you do. And it is about you personally and how you operate. So it doesn't need to be this woo thing about that you need to have all these crystals and be able to Buddhist it. It is just about connecting with your experience and finding time to be quiet in that space. And it doesn't always need to be a meditation. It could be when you're walking, going for a small walk, or just sitting somewhere and being conscious of how you are breathing. It is about you. It's taking a moment to be mindful, going into your own mind and thinking about yourself and being quiet and what it is that you're thinking and how that you are operating or moving or showing up in this world. It's a powerful thing. It gives you back autonomy into your own life, in your own vessel. That's the power in it. I think that's what everyone is trying to give back to people who are not mindful as yet or continuous on that journey, because we all slip back into the subconscious because we're designed that way. The human body is so beautiful in that we have been walking forward all this time with all these imbalances in our body, and then when the brain connects to what your body's doing, you can do it in harmony with your body. What an amazing thing to operate.
Oh, damn. I didn't know that I could actually bend down with my knees and pick
Right,
up my keys from the floor. I
exactly.
didn't know that I could actually stand up from sitting down without putting my hands on my knees. Yes, there's a lot of things that we have to be mindful with our body, not only putting in our body, but what we're doing with our body day to day. I love that. Thank you. Last question, which we started to go into just a tiny bit. This is vulnerable masculinity. I want to educate my men to tap into a vulnerable space. We talked a lot about emotions. We talked a lot about co parenting, about our own personal journeys. And now, talking about you, your professional journey, where you're at with clients, I want you to debunk a common health, fitness, or personal myth that you encounter on a day to day. And how would you educate us?
Top into each one of them then.
Let's do it.
Pilates was developed by a man. Joseph Pilates, he developed Pilates in jail. It was one of the places that he got to help some people, and along his journey made it all the way to the US, where he taught a lot of dancers, and when he died, the dancers continued his name. Therefore, it's become feminine. In my personal experience, it is easily 50-50 of my clients at the moment, because there is a place for balance. And that is what essentially Pilates is about. They talk about the core, we talk about your powerhouse, and everybody needs that mindfulness. And men take on a lot of load on their backs You hardly see women with beer bellies, but it is a male trait. And if there is so much weight on the front side, what is the back doing? It's taking on so much load, and how to come back to balance. When we talk about yin and yang, it is about the balance of it. No part of our body is supposed to be super strong in one aspect and super weak in the other. It is about bringing it together. I can say that even as a woman, I need to play between my feminine and masculine because the world is demanding me to be so masculine. And a lot of women out there are also trying to be vulnerable in their masculinity. It's about finding balance. Nothing is designed to be working at 100% all of the time. We are designed to rest. We have to be able to put something down in order to pick it up effectively. I think with regard to nutrition, it is important to eat your vegetables. It is important to be able to move things along.
What you said, I believe, is 100%. There has to be balance. We are not meant to be in hyperdrive in any shape or form too much. There's got to be balance. Yeah, you can get in hyperdrive for a little bit, but even like a car, there goes your head gasket. Boom. As we wrap up, couldn't thank you anymore. You've been the perfect first guest, just like you've been the perfect partner in life. I want to thank you again, Natalie Noah Thomas. She is an amazing person in life, just as smart and talented and driven in her professional life. That's how much love she gives to everyone that is in her community. So that's what I appreciate about you the most. And as we wrap off, everybody, thank you for tapping in. My fellas, it's all right to tap into your vulnerability. It's no knock on your masculinity. And for the ladies that are tuning in, thank you for listening. I need you to tap in